So students, these are the 10 tips to remember for solving your total income and tax liability sum. Generally in your income tax paper, the very first question is always total income. So I have gathered 10 points which students generally commit mistakes. So these are the 10 things which you have to take care while solving a sum. The very first point, students, is chapter 6 reduction. While solving the sum, chapter 6 reductions is not allowed against few incomes, which are capital gains, winnings, undisclosed income, expenses, etc. Now generally students make a mistake that while solving the total income sums, the gross total income, after that we are supposed to take chapter 6 reduction. Now under chapter 6 reductions, you have to ensure that these incomes are not considered for your chapter 6A. So what I do in my classes, after calculating gross total income, I suggest my students to divide the income first into short-term capital gain on 111A, then 112A, then other long-term capital gain, then winnings, then undisclosed income and expenses. And then only the balance income which we get, only from this income you are allowed to take your chapter 6 reduction. Now what happens with this kind of presentation is that after you divide the incomes, when you go for the chapter 6 reduction, your mind gets a hint that you are not supposed to take the chapter 6 reductions from the first few incomes. So naturally you will understand, naturally you will get a hint that your chapter 6 reduction should always be only from the balance income. This is a very common mistake which students generally commit while solving the total income sum. So this is one of the suggestions. You can also have any other method in which you are solving, but please ensure that you don't take chapter 6 reduction from these incomes. Second point, since now institute is going to ask questions about alternate minimum tax also at CA inter level, whenever they ask you to calculate tax liability, and if you see that while calculating the tax liability, there are certain deductions like 35AD or 10AA or deduction under chapter 6A which are there under the heading C. If you see such type of adjustments in your question, then you on your own have to understand that you are also supposed to calculate alternate minimum tax. Students, we cannot expect that the institute will specify in the question that also calculate alternate minimum tax. No, don't expect such specifications. If institute have given you a question in which they have asked you to calculate tax and they have given such deductions, then it is expected from the student that even without mentioning the word alternate minimum tax, the student have to calculate that alternate minimum tax. This is very important because this is the first exam that in CA Inter alternate minimum tax is going to be asked. Then students, my third tip is the sequence for calculating tax. Now normally while calculating tax, students commit a mistake in the sequence. They forget whether rebate is first or surcharge is first or marginal relief or health and education cess or TDS credit. So there is always a confusion regarding this sequence. So what students, I suggest that you should remember this code word. The code word is Rohit Sharma, my classic player. I repeat once again, Rohit Sharma, my classic player. See, Rohit is rebate, Sharma is surcharge, my is marginal relief, classic is cess, and player is prepaid taxes. So this code Rohit Sharma, my classic player, will help you to understand, will help you to remember the sequence. Then rebate is deducted, surcharge is added to the tax, marginal relief is again deducted, health and education cess is again added, and prepaid taxes are deducted. So Rohit Sharma, my classic player, minus plus minus plus minus. So this is also another important tip. Then the fourth point which I want to discuss with you is surcharge. Students, if they give you net taxable income or if they give you adjusted total income and if that net taxable income or adjusted total income exceeds 50 lakh or 1 crore, then students, you have to remember this point, that whenever income for an individual, say for example, exceeds 50 lakhs, or for others, say for example, exceeds 1 crore, then you have to remember this point, that you are expected to calculate surcharge. Now generally at CA Inter, CA IPCC or CS executive levels, questions on surcharge are not asked too often, but institute might ask you a question in which there is an income which is greater than 50 lakhs or 1 crore, then you should always remember this point, that you are supposed to calculate surcharge. Then next point is TDS credit. Students, in total income sums, if net income is given in the question, then majority students remember the net has to be converted into gross. So that is normally not a problematic area for students, but the problem arises when you are calculating your taxes. See students, we discussed earlier Rohit Sharma My Classic Player. In that player was prepaid taxes. Now in that prepaid taxes, students, you are supposed to take TDS credit and advance tax credit. What happens is, when you are calculating the total income sums, and if net income is given in the question, there are two steps which have to be taken. First, the net has to be converted into gross. Normally students do that step very properly, but what they forget is the TDS credit. So if net income is given in question, you are supposed to do two things. First, convert the net into gross, and then whatever is a component of the TDS, that TDS component has to be taken as a tax credit while you are calculating your taxes under the heading prepaid taxes. Then next, very important suggestion, very important tip. Normally whenever I check answer sheets of various students, very rarely students write working notes and assumptions. Friends, this is one of the most important area which at professional level students are expected to write, and that is they are supposed to give working notes and assumptions which they are taken. I'll give you an example. Say for example, you are solving a sum on capital gain, and you have been asked a question which is based on section 50C, real estate transaction. Then when you are writing full value of consideration, then you are taking the use of section 50C. Now when you are using this section 50C, you are obviously supposed to show the entire working of how did you get selling price or stamp duty value or value as per valuation officer. You cannot just write the final answer and expect the examiner to give you marks. So please write all the working notes and the assumptions which you have taken while solving your sum. Then next very important tip is residential status and age of assessee. Students, while you are giving your exams, you must have studied already, you already know that there are various chapter 6 reductions which are given only to residents. There are few chapter 6 reductions which are eligible for residents as well as non-residents. Age is an important factor while calculating your taxes. In fact, age is also important while calculating certain chapter 6 reductions like ATTTB. So whenever you are solving the total income sum, you should always note what is the residential status and the age of the assessee. Point number 8 is analyze the question. This is very important. Majority of the students do not read the question properly. Supposingly the question is asking calculate net taxable income. I have seen so many students calculating tax liability also in such questions, whereas tax liability is not required when you are asked only about net taxable income. So students, you have to very carefully analyze whether the question is asking about gross total income or net taxable income or total income and tax liability or tax liability. Obviously, if they are asking you tax liability without calculating your not total income, you cannot calculate your tax liability. So if they ask tax liability, total income obviously is asked. But please ensure, if they have asked only gross total income or only net taxable income, then please do not waste your time in calculating tax liability also. So you have to analyze the question very properly, exactly whether they are asking income and tax or only income. Then my next point is very very important for especially for those students who are giving the second attempt or third attempt. Previous year and assessment here is one of the most important aspect as far as the income tax paper is concerned. Students, say for example, the examiner is asking a particular question about previous year 1920. Now what generally happens in your examination is that whenever they ask you a question about 1920, they purposely give you information about past years or future years. They might purposely give you some information about 1819. So you have to very carefully analyze why is that information given. Sometimes the information of the past year is given only to confuse you, but sometimes the information which is given of the past year is important. Say for example, the question mentions that in the past year the assessee was subject to tax audit. So if the assessee was subject to tax audit in the past year, then in the current year there are certain TDS provisions which the assessee is expected to follow. So students, whenever you are calculating total income and tax liability and they are giving you previous year and assessment years, you have to very carefully analyze the information which is given in the question, because the information which will be given of the past years, normally they don't give you anything of the future years, but they give you something of the past years. Then of the past years, the information which is given to you, sometimes it is useful, sometimes it is not useful. So based on all your provisions which you have learnt in class, you have to analyze why is the information which is given about the past years. And my last point, but very important point as far as total income sums are concerned, is identifying. Students cannot identify whether a particular adjustment is about an income or an expense or an investment. For example, life insurance. You have to analyze if life insurance premium is given in the question, it means it is an investment. But if life insurance maturity amount is received, then it means it is an income. If it is an investment, it goes under 80C. If it is an income which is received, then it goes under exempt incomes, income from other sources, mutual funds, public provident funds. If amount is deposited in the public provident fund, then it is an investment. Because what happens in the total income sums is, sometimes they give you information in a profit and loss format, but sometimes they give you information in a paragraph format. So students are very confused that when they are solving sums for life insurance, mutual fund, provident fund, then what happens is, many provisions, many adjustments, they also find in income from other sources or income from business, and they also find those adjustments in chapter 6 deductions. So you have to analyze very properly whether a particular adjustment which is given to you is about investments, is it about expenses, or is it about incomes, because based on your analysis you have to give the necessary adjustment. So friends, these are my last 10 points. These are my 10 points which I have given you. Before examination, whenever you go, whenever you enter your examination hall, 2 hours before you enter this examination hall, please go through this video or at least write down these points in your notebook. It would be very helpful to you. Next time I will bring same tips or for different chapters. Thank you very much.